In this video, I'm going to walk you through this week's skill builder using the pen tool and the curvature tool to create logos in Adobe Illustrator. For this assignment, you have a whole bunch of logos. These are logos that have been developed by other people. Most of them are fairly famous. The Airbnb logo somehow is there twice. But they're logos that you should be fairly familiar with. And we're going to use these logos as a tool to learn to become fluent, comfortable with both the curvature tool and the pen tool. And I want to show you just a couple quick tips with these tools to get you started. So the curvature tool is this little guy right here that looks like the pen tool with a little tail. I think that the curvature tool is actually how the pen tool was intended to work. And just to work on this project, there's a couple things I want you to do to start with. First of all, notice that you have a layer that is locked that has all of the logos on it. And then there's a second layer called layer 2. I want you to work on layer 2. If you work on layer 1 and you try to use any of the tools, you're going to get a little icon that tells you you can't. So if you're having that problem, go click on your layers panel and make sure that you're on layer 2. That layer is unlocked and you'll be able to create on that layer. The second thing I want you to do is I want you to change your fill color to none, and I want you to change your stroke color to something fun and interesting. This is going to help you to see. I'm going to use green. Green actually makes you more creative. There's some interesting research that says being exposed to green makes you respond to creative thinking exercises better. So I'm going to choose a green stroke. And I'm going to start with the curvature tool on the Nike logo because I think this is very well suited for this particular logo. When I first click with the curvature tool, it's going to make a little red dot. This dot is an anchor point, and the curvature tool automatically makes curves. So I'm going to go down to the tip of, or kind of the apex of that circular curve, and I'm going to continue to follow along. I'm going to double click right here so that I get a straight line out to the corner. I'm going to double click again and come back down. Now the way that I make the determination as to where I should put anchor points on my paths is where does the direction of the line change? That's the place that we're going to need to put a point. And if I happen to make a mistake with one of these, I can go back and pick it up and move it. Sometimes it's not so much a mistake as it's just the spot that I want it to be is not quite. I'm going to double click here to finish that off. And there we have a fairly good representation of the Nike logo. These are not going to be perfect, you guys. That is just the reality of learning, is that as you work through these, I've just gotten the direct selection tool because I want to come fix that anchor point a little bit. All paths in Illustrator are created with anchor points and lines that stretch between the anchor points. I like to think about these as fence posts and fence. So when you're building a fence, you have to set a fence post and stretch the fence in between the posts. And working in Illustrator with the pen tool and the curvature tool is very similar to fence posts. So I'm going to get the curvature tool again and come down to the Apple logo. I'm going to click at the bottom corner. I'm going to click right midway because remember I want to make a curve, so I need to hit the midpoint of that leaf shape. I'm going to come to the top point and double click to make a corner. I'm going to come back to the midpoint on the bottom side and then double click again at the end, and there's the leaf shape. The curvature tool allows you to double click to make a corner, single click to make a curve, and double click to make a corner. So I'm going to continue along the path, and as I look at it, I'm just going to ask myself, gosh, where did the direction of the line change? Here it's going up and to the left until we get right about here, and then it continues to go up, but now it's going to the right. And here it starts to go down. Here it starts to go back up. And I'm going to double click the end to keep that curve. Now, one of the beautiful things about the curvature tool is if at any point I'm not happy with the curve, I can actually come in and grab the line and readjust it. So I'm just going to tweak those right in there. And there we are, the Apple logo. So the Metallica logo is filled with lots and lots of straight lines, so the curvature tool may not be our best choice for this logo. In this case, I'm going to get the pen tool. The hotkey for the pen tool is the letter P, and the pen tool makes straight lines by default, whereas the curvature tool makes curved lines by default. And I'm just going to come in and click anywhere I have a corner, and the pen tool will stretch that path in between the anchor points or the fence posts that I set down. Now, if I need to make a curve with the pen tool, what I'm going to do is click and drag, and that gives me what's called a curve control handle. And the curve control handles control the angle of the curve. In this case, I did not need a curve, but I'll go back in and fix that here in just a second. So I'm going to get a tool from the pen tool toolbox called the anchor point tool. And if I just come click on this anchor point, it's going to convert it from the curve to a corner. So the pen tool makes straight lines, the curvature tool makes curved lines, and between the two we have a combination of tools that is really helpful for constructing logos. So for this assignment, I really want you to focus on just those two tools. I know there are some of these logos, like the Target logo as an example, that would be so much easier with the ellipse tool, but what I really want you to do is push yourself and use the curvature tool and the pen tool. I want to show you one other technique that I think can be very helpful. There's an illustrator by the name of Von Glitchka who uses an analogy of a clock to talk about building curves. And when we look at a circle, a circular path, this path, I'm going to use the direct selection tool to select it. This path has 4 anchor points. Each of the anchor points has curve control handles that are about equal. And this is really where I got the idea of thinking about the direction of the line. So when we look at a circle, there are only 4 anchor points in a circle. The top anchor point, from the top anchor point to the right hand anchor point, here the line is going to the right and down. When we get to that middle point, the line starts to change the direction. So it goes down still, but now it's going to the left until we get to the center. Now it continues to go left, but it starts to go up. And here it continues to go up, but it's going to the right. So each place that that line changes direction, we need an anchor point. So I'm going to come in here and look at the C of the Metallica logo, and we're going to apply this idea with the pen tool so that I can show you how this plays out. I'm going to go ahead and click right here on the corner. That's the start of our shape. And then this line goes up and to the left until about right there. And then it changes and goes down to the right, or down to the left, right there. Now it changes direction, still going down, now it's going to the right until about there. And here we have a corner, always have an anchor point at a corner. Here we have another corner. This time it's going down and to the left to about there, up and to the left about there, up and to the right, down and to the left, and there we have the finished shape. And I know what you're thinking is, Betsy, that's not the finished shape, it's all straight lines. Well, we can easily correct those straight lines using a tool called the anchor point tool. The anchor point tool is in the toolbox and it's the same one that allowed us to add curve control handles. But one of the really neat things about this tool, I'm going to zoom in so we can see a little closer, is that this tool also allows you to take a path, that segment of fence, and turn it into a curve. So in this case, I'm just going to grab it and extend it out to that curve. Grab it and extend it out to that curve. Grab it and extend it to the curve. Extend it to the curve here. Each one of those segments, you're just going to, now you do have to click right on the path. Notice my cursor changes when I'm in the right spot. It becomes a black arrow with a round curve. And I can move any one of these. And there, in pretty short order, we have reproduced the C of the Metallica logo. I hope that helps you understand this project a little bit. Get through as many of these as you can. Some of them obviously are much easier than others. Start with the easiest ones. Don't feel like you have to start with the hardest. And I can't wait to see what you do. Have a great week.